We like the mystery.
Welcome to Mark's
Red Rum.
Murder
Red Rum.
Mystery
Red Rum.
Monday.
She is mysterious herself. The person who guides us through Mark's Murder Mystery Monday is Courtney, everyone. Courtney, welcome.
Hi.
Seems to be a problem. Are you all right? Already is an issue?
I was backstage. I was trying to express that I would be there, at least in part, on Thursday. This is
that's
exciting
great.
news.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be great if
Yeah,
you could be part of
so,
things. Might we be able to see you on Thursday if we were to actually?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
so.
really good. All right.
Yeah.
So for the
Let me finish.
for the off-air meetup on Thursday, the happy half hour you will be seeing. All right, I don't want to. There it is, Mark Thompson Show special, and now it really is special.
Yeah.
It's a meet and greet with Mark and the team and Courtney. So there it all is. These are all the private off-air Zoom meetup, 7 to 7:30 on Thursday evening.
Never mind.
Ask us anything. Nothing's off limits. And it is our first Mark Thompson Show special event. $75 for one of 15 Zoom spots. Good deal. Only 15 spots available. themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. Need your name, email, and phone number. Now, Courtney, thank you. Enough about that. Let's talk about murder.
Yes, I'm here to talk about murder mystery.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I saw an article about
how to spot a murderer.
Yeah, exactly. How to spot a murderer.
And this will come in handy for these summer parties.
Sure,
and
you don't want a murderer at your
where
party.
you might be engaging with people and wondering if this person is a serial killer. And Mark and I both had a laugh at
Box
this.
and Little Anthony.
Yeah, and Joe Box and Little Anthony, they come in hard.
Article,
you know that they're there, right?
Mo Black's brother, Fat Andy.
Fat Andy, you know he's capable of offing somebody.
Yeah. It's funny the way that the article was introduced, because it was very much like, if you're talking to somebody and wondering if they're a murderer, here are some ways to identify that, outside of the fact that they would be murdering people. Right. And one of those is that what we say is not as important as how we say it. And so 55% of what people say is through their body language. Mm-hmm. Actually, only 7% of what they're trying to convey comes through their words. 38% is tone of voice, how quickly they're speaking, the color of their skin, whether they're getting red or pale. And so this article talks about creating a baseline. So when they're interviewing suspects or known serial killers, they're talking to them in a way that feels very familiar. Mm-hmm. And so they're asking them about themselves, easy questions like hobbies, family, personal interests. And that creates a baseline of what their behavior is, their speech patterns, the look of their skin, if it's changing at all. And then they start to ask them questions about the murders or any of the
I see. So you're saying that when they speak to people who are suspects, they don't start right with the
no.
Where were you on the night of?
Yeah,
they go. So what hobbies do you have?
Yeah.
Right. Well,
like if you're
aside from tying people up.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly. So
are you going to post that? Are you post that?
Yeah, I'm happy to share that. Yeah,
okay.
I think it'll help people out. But
will help people out in their conversations over barbecues this summer.
Exactly.
All right.
It's a very nonchalant article. I'm here to talk about Candy Montgomery.
Candy Montgomery. Now, who's Candy Montgomery?
So Candy Montgomery was a wife, a homemaker who lived in Northeast Texas, just outside of Dallas, who murdered her best friend. And I'm here to talk about that because there is a new show on HBO Max, which is written and produced by David E. Kelley. And there was a show last year, almost exactly at this time, May 4th. It premiered last year on Hulu called Candy. And so because of that, I'm here to highlight this or talk about this murder so that if people are watching that show or are interested, they'll have some background on what happened.
Oh, that's cool. So this is the real story.
This is the real story of Candy Montgomery. So Candy Montgomery is a 29-year-old housewife.
But we're looking at her now. She's the murderer, you're telling me.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. She's not the murdered. She's the murderer.
She's the murderer, yeah. Okay. And she had that perm.
Okay.
By choice.
But it was a different time then. I mean.
It's 1977 when she meets the couple, but who eventually she murders the wife. But this is 1980 is when the murder happened. So it's June 13th. It's Friday the 13th. It's 1980. Alan Gore is he's gone because of work. He's on a work trip. He calls his wife Betty Gore. He's trying to get a hold of her. Betty is a elementary school teacher that also lives in the area of Wiley, Texas.
There she is with the dog,
a suburb
and with the
outside
kids.
of Dallas.
Yeah.
Yep. And he can't get a hold of Betty. She's not answering the phone. And they have a young daughter who's 11 months named Bethany. And so Alan's worried. He calls some neighbors. He actually calls Candy and asks her about Betty. Candy says she had been there earlier in the day. She had seen Betty. Everything was fine. Alan eventually gets a hold of some men who are neighbors, and they get into the house, and they find Betty Gore dead in the utilities room, and it looks like she's been shot. So, yes. So now Alan's on a business trip.
And we see Alan
and
there in
Betty
a picture with
is
the kids.
murdered on the utilities floor, on the floor of the utilities room. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Turns out that it was Candy Montgomery.
Well, how do they know that?
Well, I'll give you the backstory. Okay. So Candy, Betty, Alan, and Candy's husband, Pat, were all churchgoers. They went to this church, Methodist church, that's in Lucas, Texas. I have a photo of it.
Yep, there it is.
They're all in the choir. And Pat's actually a very successful electric engineer. He works at Texas Instruments. Mm-hmm. He makes about what would now be about $330,000 a year. So they live in a nice home in suburban Texas, but Candy's just a bored housewife. She's bored with her life with Pat. She has a little boy and a little girl. And she's really looking for something to kind of
spice it up. Like killing someone.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Betty and Alan live again also in Wiley. As I told you, Betty is a teacher and Alan works for a telecommunications company. And so one day Candy approaches Alan after a church event and tells him that she finds him attractive and she'd like to have an affair.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, maybe church isn't so bad. I'm just saying.
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
All right, but I'm just saying that's quite a come on there in church.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, no. She comes on to him, and he at first is not sure. He says he's gonna,
he's not sure.
He's not sure. He's a little interested. I mean, she's definitely piqued his interest because he himself has some issues with Betty, but they eventually start talking every day on the phone, and they devise this plan over weeks. And they sit down. They actually have a list of why and why nots that they would do it. And eventually the list...
this is, when you're saying whether they would do it, you mean hook up or you mean murder?
Whether they would have the affair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right now
there's an image of it.
And they're hungry.
They have this list of why and why not. There's actually a screen grab from the TV show of
do you have that, Albert?
Remaking this list.
Of the
yeah.
list?
This is kind of a well thought out affair. I mean, usually it's just kind of a passionate thing.
Yeah, that's the list.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, usually it's really passionate, but they go through everything.
Usually when you think about it, you think, should I really? No, I really shouldn't cheat. Right?
Right.
It's the not thinking about it that gets you into trouble, but not here.
Yeah, exactly. No,
Why?
I mean.
Yeah, why not? Fear of getting caught is number one on why not.
And also another big one is developing feelings for one another.
Oh, I see.
And so they decide they're going to have the affair, but Candy's very clear. If we develop feelings, the affair is done. And
it was a long negotiation, says it was over weeks they did this?
Over weeks.
Wow.
They started talking, I think, in October, and the affair began December 12th, 1978. And so they decide that Betty is going to pack a lunch and like a smart lunch, with appetizer, lunch, and dessert. She has chilled white wine. She drives and gets the motel room. They split all bills, gas, motel. This is all laid out.
I support that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she gets a hotel room at the Como Motel. Well, she actually gets a hotel room at another motel, but the second week she chooses the Como, and that is where they go for the rest of the affair. I had actually have a photo.
Thompson, party of four.
No, I was not part of this.
There's a photo of the Como Motel.
Albert, the motel, please.
There we go. That was
Motel.
taken. The photographer said it was 1985 or 1986.
Kind of, it's a throwback kind of place.
And this is the more contemporary couple shots of the Como. Mm-hmm. So this is in Richardson, Texas.
They hook up there.
Yes. So they hook up here. She's wearing like a negligee. She's got the food laid out. She's got wine chilled. And they have small talk.
Albert applauding the catering.
Yeah. It's funny because they go into such detail in these limited series, just at how kind of absurd the whole thing was that they were laying this out. But they were very pragmatic with all of this. So she's wearing negligee. They have small talk. They have sex. It goes as what you're thinking, which is it's pretty mediocre. And that's part of the reason, actually, why eventually Candy loses interest, because the sex is not quite what she's wanting it to be. If she's going to go through the trouble of having
she's
going to
put out a deli plate. She wants the real, she wants foreplay and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Not just a slam bam.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I've also seen depictions of where Candy actually falls in love with Alan.
Oh.
So they're somewhat in conflict. The TV series show her falling in love with him, actually. And a large part was they would talk on the phone every day. And they would do sort of fun activities all outside of Wiley, right, in the surrounding area. They made sure not to do it in Wiley, which is where they both lived. So the series would have you believe that she fell in love with Alan, and Alan wants to stay with his wife. He goes on this thing called Marriage Encounter, which is exactly what you think it is. It's some sort of cultish weekend where you write down everything that's happening in your relationship. You try to reset the bond.
Yeah, that's bad. You might want to leave one thing that's going on in your relationship out.
Alan, when Candy first started the affair, Alan had never been French kissed.
Wow.
Now, he had a daughter, so there was some sort of intimacy happening with his wife. But I think that when they went to have marital affairs during this marriage encounter, I'm sure that Betty was like, wow, this is a big change.
Yeah.
Because Candy had taught him a lot of things in the boudoir. Yeah.
Processes and protocols,
including
and
French kissing.
Yeah, he had new processes and protocols and standards, you're saying, as a result of hooking up with this experienced woman who's going to church and hooking up with dudes.
There you go.
All
there
right.
you go.
Okay.
So they come back. And Alan,
but Candy was kind of disappointed with the hookups. So what happened? So where does she get to murdering the wife?
I'm so glad you asked, Mark. So they get back. Alan breaks it off, and then a couple months later, June 13th, as I mentioned, it was Friday the 13th. It was actually a month after the film Friday the 13th had premiered in theaters. Candy has the daughter of Betty and Alan Gore at her house. And she's got a full day of errands and activities for the church. This is Candy. And one of those activities and errands is going to Betty Gore's house to get a swimsuit for Betty's daughter.
Okay.
It's interesting because I actually have an image later that I'll show you, but anyway, I'll tell you about that later. But she goes to Betty's house to get this swimsuit for swim lessons. And it is alleged, right? This is all Candy's communication of what happened on this day. It was early in the morning, like 10 a.m.-ish, June 13th. Betty confronts Candy and says, are you having an affair with Alan? And Candy says, yes, I did have an affair with Alan, but it's over. It's completely done. And Candy alleges that Betty gets up, leaves the room, and comes back with an axe and starts to attack.
So she's
Candy.
saying I was defending myself against Betty, who came at me with an axe. Okay.
So Candy kills Betty with an axe. She
wrestled the axe out of
wrestles
Candy's
the axe
hand.
from Candy's hand. There's actually a photo of evidence that was submitted in the trial where Candy alleges that Betty hit her toe with an axe.
Fingerprint links woman to axe slaying, they say.
Yeah, if you go
in
down
the trial, and then we did have the picture of the toe.
Yeah, the toe. There you go.
Yeah.
Which I think if you got hit with an axe, wouldn't your toe come off? I don't know.
Not necessarily. I mean, it depends the angle.
This is a 3-foot axe.
Yeah, but
wood chopping axe.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying. It might not with enough force to sever the toe. Who knows?
Well, Candy gets the axe. She kills Betty. She hits her 41 times.
What can you tell us about the scene?
It's bloody, is what I'm
bloody.
guessing.
Yeah, there was a photo of the scene. I chose not to include it.
All right. So this bloody scene, she admits to it, or what happens?
Yeah, so she
calls 911. Somebody.
She murders Betty, and then she does what she had been doing during the affair, which is she goes to the shower and rinses off the blood. That was the other thing about the affair. They always took a shower and rinsed everything off.
You want to rinse that shame off.
Yeah.
Of you. Right.
So then, as I mentioned earlier, the neighbors go that evening. They find Betty dead. And of course, one of the first people that the police question is Candy, because she admits to having been there and picking up the bathing suit.
Can we get off the picture of the feet now, Albert, please?
Yeah, it was not meant to be up there.
Yeah.
So Betty is
there she is, Candy
arrested.
Montgomery.
Yeah. So Betty's questioned. She hires an attorney, someone from the church, and she turns herself in, and she goes to trial for the murder of Betty on October 21st, and she is found not guilty on October 30th
because of
self-defense.
self-defense. Wow.
Yes, and so she walks. Yep.
Wow.
She is. It's said that she lives in Georgia and goes by Wheeler, Candy Wheeler.
Uh-huh.
Yes, and then Alan, who was the man she had the affair with, the husband of Betty, now lives in Florida with a girlfriend.
Wow.
So, yes.
So
and it has
the church hookup, which turned to murder, ultimately ends up with her being acquitted.
Yes, she's acquitted by
Nothing.
Yeah, we don't get a guilty.
She's acquitted by 9 women and 3 men, and people were not happy. People were screaming murderer.
This is a word from the Lord, and He's not happy.
Let me ask you something about this, and we finish up.
Yep.
Do you feel that justice was not done here? That she should have been found guilty?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. They had a psychiatrist who said that Betty had triggered Candy, and that's why she killed Betty from childhood trauma. But yeah, if you're gonna hit somebody in the head more than 30 times and then hit them in the back with an axe, you've got an axe to grind. No,
really. Kim, I know who the psychiatrist was who weighed in on this case. Actually,
Dr. Emil Schaffhauser.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of that, Courtney. That axe to grind. I'm very proud.
Thank you. I know, Marcus.
I was not.
I'm
my God.
Exactly, was not as.
Thank you, Kim. Someone.
I feel like if you put out the deli plate and the smart lunch, as you called it, that really, I mean, I can see the anger there. You know, after all of that, this is how it ends.
I know.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, she went through the trouble of putting out the lunches and getting the motel and chilling the wine.
Seemed like there was a lot of stuff she might have not. She might have been frustrated with.
There was even the effort of the yes or no list. You know, after taking
they went through the pros and cons. You're right.
They did all this, and this is how we. No.
All right, Courtney, we adore you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
If we get this thing together for Thursday, the happy half hour, you will actually appear on camera. That's very exciting.
I will appear on camera.
Courtney, everybody, come on,
Thank you for having me.
We loved it.
Murder Mystery Monday on the Mark Thompson Show.
Well, hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.